Hi, it's time for a vintage unboxing video. And just to forewarn you before we get into it, this is not about a NuTone product. This is about something completely different. Before we get into the unboxing, we have to set the stage. We're going to go in the Wayback Machine and we're going to travel all the way back to the late 1990s when home theater was in its heyday. You would go in people's houses and what would you see on the family room coffee table? You would see a whole giant array of remote controls to control all the different individual devices. And it was not uncommon that people would make a comment that, well, everyone in the house is afraid to touch anything because they don't really understand how it works. Usually it's the dad that understands it and he doesn't want anybody messing it up. This, of course, is not the best way to approach this. And also, it was not uncommon. People, then there were actually companies that made like baskets and things that were designed to sit all your remote controls in on your coffee table to keep them all organized. And this is just kind of a giant mess. I, like everyone else, had a home theater. It was rather modest, but it was nevertheless, we had the whole array of remote controls. I didn't really like this. So what did I buy? Well, we'll put all of these off to the side. And what I bought was one of these. This is a Sony model RM-AV2100, and this is a programmable universal learning remote control. And if you read the information on the box, suitable for home theater systems, operates up to 12 components, convenient touch control backlight LCD panel, single key operates up to 16 serial operations. Those are macro commands. We'll talk about that a little bit. Up to 15 keys available for macro functions with eye-selectable processing speeds. I'm not sure what that means exactly, but this was all the thing to have back in the day. And when I bought the one I have, which was around 2000, which is I think when this one was made, I paid around $200 for it, or maybe a little more, maybe a little less, I don't really remember. And because back in those days I had a lot of Sony equipment, I liked Sony equipment a lot, that made it easy to use, and you got rid of all of the pile of remote controls and you have something like this. Here's the original one. This has started to develop problems, and I was very surprised actually when I started looking into what to do about this, that this was around 20 years old, because that's crazy. It doesn't seem like it's that old. So what's happened to this? Well, it still does work. It's kind of, you won't be able to see the backlit screen too well, I don't think, maybe a little bit, but what's happened to this is there are certain spots on the capacitive touchscreen that no longer work. For instance, the column of numbers over here, which are 2, 5, 8, and 0, I don't know if you can see that or not, it's kind of glary, 2, 5, 8, and 0 don't work anymore. And over here on the far right column, we have power, and then it's like, depending on which device you're controlling, it's like scan ahead, jump ahead, pause, that kind of stuff. Those are very intermittent, and it's particularly annoying when your power on-off button for all your devices works intermittently and you have to stand there and jab it and jab it and jab it, and finally, if you're a little bit lucky, it might work. It was time to do something about this. I needed a new sort of universal remote control because I'm not going back to the 6 or 7 remote controls. Actually, we don't have that many anymore, but I'm not even going back to 2 remote controls anymore. I like to have just one. I looked around, and what would be common to buy nowadays would be one of these Logitech Harmony programmable universal remote controls. Some of them are pretty fancy. What it turns out is they're kind of expensive. They do have some convenience factors, but the real tipping point for me was that it's not able to incorporate this device very well. This is the remote control for the brand new Series 2 or version 2 Amazon Fire TV Cube. The only way the Logitech devices will replace this if you buy the most expensive one they make with the Logitech hub and all of this other stuff that isn't really what I want, because in about a year and a half from now I'm going to be doing an audio video upgrade thing, and I don't want to spend the better part of $300 on a remote control that in a year and a half I don't want. So it occurred to me that I would go online and look to see if there were some well-known problems with this, because, you know, we do fix things here and I have the capability of doing that. I couldn't find a lot of detailed information about problems that people have, but what I did find was they're still out there. Now, I ordered this one This is brand new in the box. I paid, including the shipping, I paid $25 for it, which is pretty good. Offspring $25. You can't even buy a brand new, most universally kind of cheesy remote control for 25 bucks, I don't think. But I could buy one of these for $25, and it does appear to be new in the box and never been opened. You can always tell when it has this kind of flap, because I don't think it's been opened up until just now. Whether it's going to work or not, I don't really have any idea, because you're going to get to watch me open it up and see. And for 25 bucks, how can you go wrong? So what happened to the screen on the other one? Well, this is a capacitive touch screen, not a resistive touch screen, and it works very much like the touch screen on your iPhone or any kind of modern device like this. But this is from 2000, and it's actually probably from slightly before that. Capacitive touchscreens became sort of popular and more commonplace. They were invented all the way back in the 1960s, but they became kind of commonplace in the mid-80s. Hewlett-Packard actually made a computer. I'm not sure if it was a laptop or a desktop, but it had a capacitive touchscreen. It didn't really catch on then, and it would be really, you have to jump way forward for consumer products into the time around the iPhone, which is 2007, for them to become, super commonplace. So this was kind of advanced, and I'm sure that has something to do with why it was so expensive. So what you get here in the box with our RM-AV2100 is a big, giant, integrated remote command operating instruction book. And apparently you get it in many, many languages. And here are our Sony and other brands of component code numbers. Now I'm going to assume that a lot of this is no longer really relevant, although they have a lot of brands on here. Oh look, Bell & Howell. How many people remember Bell & Howell movie projectors from elementary school? You have Hitachi, Magnavox, Scott. There's Samsung, there's Singer, Realistic, they're gone, that's Radio Shack. Anyway, you have all these operational codes in here that they gave you with this. A lot of these are probably obsolete and it doesn't really matter. You have a warranty, I'm sure that's expired. But you have the commander operating instructions, and it's a whopping 75 pages long. And it goes over everything in great, great, great detail. So we'll go ahead and take this out. Oh, I wanted to point out also, unlike things today, it's made in Japan. Everybody knows all the best stuff's made in Japan. And here it is. And I would say this has never been opened. Ooh, and it's brand new, just like I bought one. So let's see if it works. It was pointed out to me by someone at the office that, why do you think that you expect this to work out of the box? You're the guy that's always telling everybody about 20-year-old electronics been sitting on the shelf, and how could you possibly expect it to work? It uses 4 AA batteries, and these are brand new ones. And sure enough, it lights up. It's kind of hard to see. See if we turn that off. There you go. A nice blue backlight. And it seems that, at least on the surface, the keys all work. You can tell it's transmitting because up here, when you push a button, let me turn that on, you can see the little indicator. See if I can hold this just right. I think you can probably see that. You can see that it shows that it's transmitting. One of the nice things about this design is you have this big plexiglass window right here, and this has, I believe, 4 infrared emitters. A lot of remote controls, like this one, this is from a Sony, this is from the newest, most current AV receiver. It only has 1 infrared light emitter, so the beam pattern that it shoots out is rather narrow, and only as strong as one infrared LED can be, where this one, I'm pretty sure it has 4, and so it has a much wider field, so you can be off center more, and it's also 4 times as powerful, so it works better in that respect, and like that. So here we have a Sony RM-AV2100. Of course, this has to be completely set up to work with the equipment I have. Now, if you look at this, some of you might be, well, why would you want this? You know, if we look at the options here, we have all the different devices. You have TV, you have VCR1, VCR2, and VCR3, because, you know, people back in the day had a lot of VCRs, I guess. You have a DVD player, your satellite cable TV box, your amplifier, your CD player, your MD DAT device, which I think is a digital recording device. You have deck B and A, which maybe that's a cassette player, I'm not sure. Your tuner and your DSP unit, and then you have your volume and channel and muting and all that kind of stuff. But the thing about this is, well, you might think, well, you know, I don't have any VCRs anymore. I don't use a DVD player. Nobody's playing CDs. Cassette player has been gone for a long time. So a lot of these buttons aren't useful. Why would I want to use this? Well, these buttons and the information that pops up on the screen, if you look, you can see as I push the buttons, might be better to do this with the light off. As I push the buttons, to some extent, the keys that light up are all entirely different. Why is that? Well, it's because inside here are probably a microprocessor or a microcontroller or some device, and we might open up the other one and see it changes where the keys are located on the screen and what they're for, and all of these and all of the keys that show up on the screen, and there actually can be more. There's more, because you can do the top button here where some of them blank out, or you bring them all back. All of these keys, regardless of how it's set up now, are all fully programmable. You can make this is a learning remote control. You can punch in codes that come with the instructions, and it'll work with that type of device if you have that model from 2000. The other thing you can do is you can, for instance, you can take your Amazon Fire Cube TV remote control, and you can decide you're going to use that as your, you know, on your VCR1 button, and you can program and do like this and shoot the code into it, and it will memorize and learn the code, and then this will operate your Fire Cube. Now, it doesn't have the thing where you can talk into it, but you know, who really cares about that? It's just a good general purpose, universal, learnable remote control. Also, it doesn't get lost down in the couch cushions, does it? Because it's kind of big, and it was only $25. So it's a good deal. It really is. Let's take a minute and we'll open up. No, I'm not going to open up the other one yet, because I actually need to use the other one perhaps to teach this one how to do things. So there might be a part 2 to this. If anybody's interested in a teardown of the original remote control, this one that doesn't work right anymore, leave it in the comments down below, and I'll make a follow-up video and we'll take it apart and look at what's inside, because I don't really know. This one's really grungy. Once I brought it outside in the bright light, it's like, gosh, we need to be more careful because it's kind of dirty. Something that's not NuTone, because yes, even the NuTone guys' stuff breaks from time to time, and then we have to deal with it. So, and since there's not a lot of information about these online, now there's more. How about that? If you found this interesting, and maybe for somebody it'll be helpful, give it a thumbs up on YouTube, because that helps us a little bit. There'll be a banner right here that shows you how to subscribe. Go to our YouTube homepage, click on the bell, and when you click on the bell, click on it to receive all notifications. And every time we post a new video, you'll get a notification and you can watch it. That's all for today. Back to NuTone videos on the next one that gets published. See ya.